Good morning to one and all present here. I, Dr. Tirthraj Singh, on behalf of Center of Excellence in Information Technology and Bioinformatics, JP University of Information Technology, Wagnaghat, Solan, India, welcome you all on this third international webinar of our international webinar series that we are calling as IWS. The first two webinars, the first one by Honorable Vice Chancellor, the inaugural webinar was very well accepted by the audience. Then we had the second webinar by Professor Yossi Sechem Diamond from Tel Aviv University, Israel. That was also very well accepted by the audience. And now we have today the third webinar, because you know nowadays electronics is playing a very important role in our day-to-day life, and we are using electronic gadget like even more than required. And when we are throwing them, it's like an electronics waste. So how it is affecting the health of human body, all the plants, animals, the whole environment. This is all the topic that we are going to listen from an expert in this area, Professor Sudhir Kumar, who is head of the department also of Department of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics. But before taking much time, first I would like to call upon one of our final year BTech Bioinformatics student, Chhavi Thakur. She is going to introduce Professor Syal as a speaker today, and then we will listen to the speaker. So I would like to call upon now Chhavi for introducing Professor Syal.
Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. A very good morning to one and all present here. It is my pleasure to inform you that the Center of Excellence in Healthcare Technologies and Informatics, Department of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics, JUIT Wagnaghat, is organizing a series of international webinars. We must first reduce before we recycle. This webinar session is all about sharing the concern on e-waste and healthcare management. And our speaker for today's webinar is Professor Dr. Sudhir Kumar Syal Sir, HOD of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics. His research work is the area of the bioleaching of precious metals like gold, silver from e-waste and assessing the impact assessment of e-waste on human health and environment. This very webinar will be inspiring, full of information and facts, thereby creating awareness about e-waste and healthcare. Now I request Dr. Sudhir Kumar Syal Sir to start with the session.
Thank you, Chhavi, and thank you, Dr. Tirath. And good morning to all the participants here, all teachers, faculty, staff, and other participants and students. Very good morning. And this webinar is about, as Dr. Tirath told you, is about electronic waste and healthcare. So I'll be starting my seminar, and this talk is relevant because, you know, online teaching is now the norm of today's world because due to COVID-19 pandemic, so electronic gadgets and other things, they are increasing. So we thought that let us have a talk on that. So I'll share my presentation with you, and then I'll start my talk. I hope this is visible to you, Dr. Tirath?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So as Dr. Tirath told, I am Sudhir. My affiliation is in the Department of Biotechnology and Bioinformatics. And we are in Himachal Pradesh. This is a university situated very near to Shimla, almost you can say midway between Solan and Shimla. And we established here in the year 2002, and since then our department is functioning and various programs are running in the department. So to start with, I would like to tell you what is the e-waste. I think before I tell you what is the e-waste, if you see this slide, we are using many electronic gadgets nowadays, whether it is a computer, whether it is a cell phone, whether it is a printer, or not even that, even electrical equipments which we are using at home, that may be air conditioners or refrigerators. So all these things we are using. So ultimately what happens when a user feel that this particular electronic or electrical equipment is not of use for them, probably a software is not having option for upgradation, or you want to have a new AC or new refrigerator, or your computer is now not up to the mark, hardware is not what you want to be. So generally what happens, even floppy disk and other electronic gadgets, so these gadgets then they are of no use. So once you feel that it is of no use, for that matter, this is called e-waste and you discard it. So electronic gadgets they are continuously, there's a lot of invention going on in this digital world, and that's why we are piling up a lot of electronic items which are there in our home or offices, and sometimes we also throw it, whether it is a cell like batteries which we are using commonly in watch or other things. So these things are not of use, and generally when we dispose it off along with the municipality solid waste. So e-waste is something which is discarded electronic and electrical equipments. So this is mainly the e-waste. So where it comes from, I think there is not even a single section of the society where you will not get these type of electronic items used. And that's why a lot of electronic items are become redundant. You must have seen that in 60s and then in 90s, we have a different type of radios and televisions, and then they become obsolete. So ultimately, we discarded these electronic gadgets. So from a particular home, you will get a lot of electrical and electronic equipments which are coming and as a trash. Similarly, there are many from the hospitals that will come. Many old microscopes which we are using in the schools, they are redundant now. So many scanners and PC, you must have seen, they are not in use because they are not compatible what we are intend to do today. So they are actually waste. All the public and all the government sectors, they are using lot of electrical and electronic equipments, and generally after a few years their life is, we feel, or sometimes even there is a demand of the technology, we feel that this is not up to the mark, and then we have to discard, and then we have to go with the digital world, this internet revolution. So ultimately you will get lot of electronic and electrical equipments coming from all the sectors, and this is a redundant type of equipment, so which is not of use for you as well as not of use for anyone else of the similar social strata. So I should say that we have a tsunami of e-waste coming, and we should be very careful for that. If I give you the statistical information, what we are doing, we close to 50 million tons of this electronic trash was generated last year, and just to give you a correlation, that it is equivalent to the 4,500 Eiffel Towers. So that much electronic waste we are generating today throughout in all the continents, whether it is Asia or whether it is Europe or other continents, all the countries, because no one is, you will not see any country which is not having that type of internet or digital revolution. So that's why you are getting a lot of waste coming out of that. So ultimately what is happening in India, if I talk about India, India is almost 5th or 6th in producing the electronic waste, and that is close to 2 million tons of e-waste we are producing every year. And if you see, most of the metropolitan cities like Delhi, Hyderabad, Chennai, our Silicon Valley, Bangalore, they have a lot of waste in tons coming every year. And as per my past experience, we are still not much aware about where is that waste, and what to do with that, and why we should care about this waste. So this talk is to sensitize you about what are the implications linked with this waste. You must have seen all around you that this waste is still not probably visible to you. Once we use in once we walk in kitchen, a lot of solid waste coming every day, and we know that this is a paper waste, this is a cardboard waste, this is a vegetable waste, and sometimes this type of waste is not visible to you. Why this is not so, I'll tell you, and what are the implications that we have to learn, because this is a tsunami of e-waste. We need to take care of that. So let me tell you one more thing, why we should be concerned about this waste. So here is an important point. We should know, if I have a computer, I think in this talk, those who are attending this particular talk, I'm very sure most of us, they have cell phones or old tape recorder or a CD or a pen drive or a television or a radio. We must have some sort of these electronic gadgets. They are lying in a corner of the house or in the office, and because they are not as such toxic to us, if they are intact, they are not toxic. So they are lying in each and every house. But let me tell you one very important thing. 20 years back, when the cell phone were there, they were like close to very bulky one and having close to 10 of the metals and the elements. Today, a cell phone is close to 100 grams and using 60 metals. They are like a great phone revolution is there. There is a digital world, but these 60 metals, once they are present in the computer or printed circuit board or in your cell phone, they are fine. Once you try to dismantle it, you try to take it out, where most of the informal sector scrap dealers, they try to take it out, the metals, they try to take it out. They're very, very toxic to the human health and to the environment, because it is laced with cadmium. It is there having chromium. It is having lead. It is having mercury. So why this is a point of concern for all of us? Because this is not toxic if my computer is as intact, but ultimately one day will be there, I have to discard it. Once you have to discard it, it has to be dismantled. It has to be reassociated, or it has to be actually discarded. And then there is a probability of these metals and these polybrominated POP, like your persistent organic pollutants, which are not biodegradable, that come to the environment. I'll show you how this is happening in the world. So where it goes. So this is actually the Environmental Protection Agency says 60% of the e-waste is hidden in our cupboards. And I'm very sure, even in my office, I have one cell phone which I'm not using, still lying there. So that is actually an e-waste. So this is an EPA finding that lot of e-waste, but we do not tag it as an e-waste because it is the intact one. So ultimately what happens, when we discard it, the institutions, the manufacturers, consumers, and scrap dealers, when they discard it, as on now in the world, we only recycle 20% of the e-waste. That too with formal recycling. And 80% of that is just by scrap dealers, by the informal sector, or just by a layman. So what is happening? 80% of the e-waste is going to the landfills, and ultimately this landfill is full of metals, full of POPs. And you know, if you go to a Mandoli or Timarpur area of Delhi, you will see a lot of workshops. They will try to burn the cable, they will try to dismantle the computer or the monitor or the printed circuit boards because it is having good amount of copper. So they will try to take out copper with the acid leaching or with the solvent extraction. So ultimately whatever is not of their use, they will try to burn it. So this goes to the landfill, this goes to the air, and the pollutants, they are everywhere. As per one study, 80% of the metal contamination, which is actually prone to form cancer and carcinogens, they are coming from the dumping of the e-waste. But there is no point source. We cannot pinpoint that this customer is responsible or this company is responsible due to certain situations which I am going to explain you in next few slides. So why this is a point of concern? E-waste is, I told you, like a printed circuit board, which is, I think, I should say, which is the main component of the computers and the cell phones. My electrical colleagues, they know this. It is laced with lead, barium, cadmium, and a lot of other metals. If you just think about lead is so toxic that it can cause kidney damage. It is a known cause of cancer. Mercury can have a devastating effect on the nervous system, and it is a very potent liver damage agent. Beryllium and arsenic are very potent lung cancer carcinogens, and arsenic and cadmium also affects bones. So these are just 8 metals I displayed for you. Like cadmium is so irritant to the skin also, that most of these metals are very, very harmful for the human health. And these are commonly used in the electronic gadgets, because without them, you will not get very good fluorescence. You will not get your touch screen. You will not get the features which we are getting in these PCs and these mobile phones. So once they are discarded, so these metals are everywhere. And one more thing I'll tell you, that we have more metals in the cell phone and the computer as compared to the natural mines now. So if I would be a miner, I know where I have to mine. I have to mine on the electronic waste. Here is an opportunity also. Here is an opportunity also. I'll say this is urban mining. So these metals are so toxic, so hazardous, that we, as per the EPA, most of the carcinogens, they travel when we discard the electronic waste in the landfills. So that's what is happening. And why this talk is very important to the developing nation. Most of the developing nation, I'll include India and China and other neighboring countries, most of the informal sector of e-waste, extraction of metals actually lie in these countries. And once it is disposed of, as I told you, these are the effects which have been proven. Everyone know this, but ultimately, why we are not still, I'll say, we are still not waking up to this particular tsunami of e-waste. So due to these all diseases, what we need to do, what are the solutions, how to tackle this tsunami of the e-waste, let us discuss about that. So what is today's consumer feel? You include myself, you can include your friend, yourself also. What we do, take, make, and dispose. We purchase a cell phone, and ultimately we know that after a year or 2 years, we feel it is not of much use, we dispose it. And what the manufacturer is doing, here is very important point. If any policymaker is attached to this talk, it's very important. Most of the manufacturers, they are actually competitors. You talk about Apple, you talk about IBM, you talk about HP, you talk about Lenovo, you talk about any manufacturer of cell phone or the PC. They make design for dumb. They know that a particular feature of the cell phone, a particular design of the cell phone, just it should be for a year or so, and then you will not able to upgrade it. Their hardware and software compatibility issues will be there. They will launch a new model. As soon they will launch a new model and the user feels this is much better than the previous one because I'm feeling difficulty to get into that particular software or hardware, so you have to dispose. Manufacturers, I will say, somehow they are the culprits. They make design for dumb. We need to make them accountable. We should make a policy in such a way that you have to make a design which is upgradable for another 10 years. If we do that, you will see that your cell phone, after 2 years, it is their responsibility to make it upgraded for you, and you will not go for more and the other design. But they will never do it, because who will purchase a new laptop? Who will purchase a new computer? Who will purchase a new electronic gadgets? So this is, as per my observation, they always make design for dumb. So, my dear friends, we should be very, very particular to understand this slide. There is soil, crop, food pathway. On the one side, you can see there is a landfill. E-waste, when discarded, sometimes metals are taken out plastics are taken out, but you cannot take out everything. So ultimately, it is landfill in particular site, so it will not stay there. You know, there is a lot of environmental factors like constant raining is there. So ultimately, through leaching, these metals will travel down to the soil. And when they travel down to the soil, ultimately they will go up to the plants. When they go up to the plants, remember, this is not a biodegradable waste. Metals are non-biodegradable. So ultimately, when the plant is used by the herbivores, or we use it directly. So ultimately, in the form of meat or in the form of direct plant products, it comes to our table. So ultimately, bioaccumulation happens in our body, and a person may feel, I am living in Shimla in Himachal Pradesh. Why the cases of pancreatic cancer and the lung cancer are increasing? I'm a non-smoker. I'm a non-alcoholic. Why the cancer causes are increasing, cases are increasing? My dear friends, you cannot isolate yourself from soil, air, and water. A vegetable which is grown 100 kilometers away with the water which is laced with metals. Once it goes to the groundwater, the metals are everywhere. So you never know the vegetables which we are taking, the fruits which we are eating, the meat which we are taking, they may have a lot of metals. And you cannot test each and every time you will go to a lab and test how many metals are there. So in that way, they travel so fast in the society, and these metals actually, they kill our organs. So this soil crop food pathway we need to understand. And we know in the history of the plants, we know that there are a lot of plants which hyper accumulate the metals. Like you talk about cabbage, you talk about broccoli, these mustard, these are the type of plants which accumulate metal like anything. We cannot test the metals. So that's how the carcinogens, they reach everywhere, 1,000 kilometers down the line from Mandoli or Timar, from Meerut. They will travel, and ultimately through soil crop food pathway, we are contaminating our bodies, we are contaminating our environment. So this we need to understand. Now, I would like to highlight a very important point. So wealthy nations' appetite is, I'll say, is actually responsible for our burden. Why I'm saying this, I'll tell you. You know, most of the per capita electronic waste is coming from the developed nations. If I talk about, though our population is more, but close to, if I talk about USA, 20 kg is the per capita, per person discard of the e-waste. If you total waste of the USA and per person waste is 20 kg. Germany is releasing close to 22 kg per person, where in Asia, if I talk about India, we per person just 4 kg. So what I want to tell you, that most of the developed nations, they have maximum waste coming out. Now, if I talk about Europe, if I talk about US, if I talk about Canada, what they do, they never allow any informal dumping, informal scrap dealer working with the PCB on a shop which is not having any safety guidelines, and children are working or women are working. They never allow this, and they never contaminate their land, because their waste is so much, they cannot actually use all the formal units. They have formal units of recycling where the things are taken care by automatic machines, and they try to retrieve metals, but they're not enough. Their waste is huge. So ultimately what they do now, this point is very important. Please see this diagram. United States actually send the e-waste to India, to China. Similarly, you will see Europe also send it to various countries in Asia, including India, and same as Australia also send to China, India, and other countries. Now, one thing I would like to tell you, a few days back, I was listening to a official of Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and one student actually asked a question, why we allow these countries to dump their trash to India, China, and other countries, as exclusively India. Why we allow this? Is there no legislation? Is there no law? Now, what was the answer? I'll tell you. Till 2011, in India, there was no law of electronic waste. In 2011, we actually the wake-up call was there, and we framed a law that transboundary movement of the electronic waste should be stopped. Ultimately, we revised so many times, and 2017, we had another revision, and the law is strengthened and strengthened. Now the question is, why still the dumping is there? You know why? Our law says no country can dump electronic waste in India. What the developed nations are doing, they are not actually dumping printed circuit board. They are not dumping a dismantled cell phone. What they are doing, they are giving a lot of computers, laptops, medical devices, cell phone, intact cell phones, intact PC, intact laptops. So as per our law, I'll say this is a big inefficiency where we don't see that a trash. We see it is not a waste. This is a full computer. So they dump it on the name of donations. Yes, they have another life of 3 to 4 years. And in India, you know, there are many social strata. So directly when they come to the port on Bombay or Chennai or any other, so the scrap dealers and the other, they will try to take it and they will go to their workshops. They will see which can be sold out as such. So they will sold out maybe keyboard separately, mouse separately, monitor separately. Ultimately, after 3-4 years, this will be a trash. And even whatever is coming, 20% of that is not reusable, it is intact. Our law says this is not e-waste, this is a full computer. So we take it and scrap dealers try to take benefit out of that. If they purchase of 800 rupees per computer, they try to take it out in such a way that I should sell it for 2,000 or 4,000 or 5,000 worth metals out of that. Because it is laced with gold also, silver also, palladium also, platinum also. So this cannot be dumped in India, but everyone is actually giving us on the name of donation. We need to stop it. Otherwise, you will see that a lot of cases which are already there of cancer and other respiratory diseases, they will keep on increasing. We in India don't have the formal units as much as the USA had. So this is a very important point which I would like to highlight to you. So now, you know, when there is a problem, there should be a solution. Any talk should not end with that there is a problem and we should be worried about that and it causes a lot of health havocs. We should not do that. Let us see where is the opportunity for India and for other countries. My dear friends, this e-waste is having a lot of precious metals and base metals. Base metals like copper, zinc, nickel, and the precious metals like gold and silver. And 7% of the gold which is currently present in the e-waste, that is actually 100 times more what you will get on the ore. So this is artificial mine. This is an area of urban mining. What our scrap dealers are doing, actually they are trying to take out some very rudimentary, very unscientific methods to take out these very precious metals. And that is their actually livelihood. But no one is actually guarantee their safety or their health because they have to take out of metals and then that is your livelihood, their livelihood. But there is an opportunity for everyone because it is laced with a lot of metals. If you go to the mine and you will try to take out gold, you will get a lot of contaminants. But if you open up a printed circuit board, you will see that it is easy to take out gold compared to the mines. And it is having more amount of gold per unit basis as compared to the mines. So here is an opportunity. So what would you say? It is a waste? I don't think so. It is not a waste. It is an opportunity. Now, one thing which I totally disagree with the, our public policies, you know, most of our government officials, they are after the informal sectors. In India, there are thousands, I think so many, maybe in lakh, you will say that scrap dealers are there, kabadi wala, which we say, they will come to you, they will take out waste cable, they will take out your waste electrical equipments. Most of the government agencies, they're after them, that you cannot burn the cable, you cannot extract the copper, your safety measures are not there, you are polluting the environment, you are polluting effluent. I have a different perspective. I should say yes, they are risking the health of their family and their health and the health of the all the society. I agree to that, but only due to them. This e-waste is not still in the municipality solid waste, and there are certain pockets. As I told you, Meerut is a pocket. Chennai, we have a lot of informal sector. Delhi, we have an informal sector. They are in pockets, and they take all the waste, and like from Chandigarh, this waste will go to Mandoli. So I should say, why we don't give them, because they are using some methods, they have knowledge. You give them some sort of subsidies, you give them some sort of scientific advice, you connect them with the formal sector. I still remember one of my student who is like now a Dr. Pradhan. We visited Bangalore, which is having a very good formal e-waste recycling company called ePresera. Why this informal sector and formal sector people can join together through this ministries so that they can get a lot of knowledge and they actually increase. They should upgrade their workshops and they are safe, and then we are safe. India as a country where we have a lot of workforce. I'm telling you, if this much gold, silver, platinum and palladium is there in the e-waste, if this formal and the informal sector join hand, and if there is no fishy thing in between, and there is no self-gain or some self-perspective is not there, I'm telling you, we will be the best in the world to recycle e-waste and to take out the metals out of that. But we need to see this opportunity happening. We should not make them they are culprits. They have to take out the metals because that is their livelihood. They should not do that. We agree to this. But what we are doing, we want to close them. It will not happen. You upgrade them. You make them formal. So it is not the responsibility of the scrap dealer or the public sector. I'm telling you one very important thing. We forget the art of repair. I still remember during my school days, we used to, if something is out of order, my cycle, my shoe, we used to repair it. Most of the devices which we are having at home, if it is not working, we used to go to a repair shop. Repair culture is vanishing very fast. We try to take a new gadget, we try to take a new thing, and most of these repair things, if we go, we are not satisfied whatever is given to us after repair, or sometimes we feel I'll go with a new one because repair will take this much money, I can afford and I'll do this one. This culture is actually vanishing. Very important thing is circular economy. You know, as a human being, cradle to grave, we are born, after our life cycle is over, we are dead, and ultimately we go to the soil, and so again minerals are coming to the soil and again to the plants. This cycle is actually important, which we may forget. Recycle, reuse, you need to do that. Now let us forget about any developed nation. I'll talk about India only. India, we have so many social stratas. If you talk about poor, middle class, upper middle class, a lower middle class, rich, and so many other classes you will get. Can't you give your cell phone and your computer to a user? For you, the life is over. But for them, the life is for another 2 years. Why should we take that donation from the developed nation? We can do it ourselves. And if you have a cell phone, don't bother about what the other people are saying. Can you upgrade it? So these things, circular economy means you focus on repair, you focus on reuse, and you focus on recycle. This figure, I deliberately actually want to tell you one thing, which are very positive initiatives. Most of the medals in the Olympics now, they are actually made out of electronic trash and coins also. So this culture is growing up. And this is a very good culture. Like you take an e-waste and make medals. You make all the things which are useful to you. I still remember when we went to ePresera company in Bangalore, they were taking out the gold out of that, and they have a twin unit of electroplating. And that gold they were using for electroplating the watches or the gold chains. So it is giving employability to many women and many young people, and also it is a business opportunity. Focus on the circular economy, for everything that you have. So in the Indian context, I'll say whatever technology you will advocate, it should first of all should have social relevance, and then it should have cultural acceptability, and then you go with the scientific technique. Do not just throw away that this is a technology and everyone has to use it. These two things every scientist has to see. Is it having a social relevance? Yes, it has. You will have a lot of employability. You will remove a lot of waste, and we can protect ourselves from the diseases. And cultural acceptance should be there. And ultimately, then you look for scientific invention with joining hand of formal and informal sector. So you do these things, that is must. Never ever in India, we are using a lot of child labor, women. In China also, we are using this labor to take out the metals, and that should not be done. In India, still we are dumping more than 85% of the metals and the e-waste in the landfill. So that should not be done. Wherever you are, try to get aware and give awareness to others. And here I have written follow rules and regulations. In 2012, the government of India said extended producer responsibility. It's a very interesting thing I would like to share with you. When the pressure came from many NGOs, environmental groups, agencies, so ultimately they said that producer is responsible for recycling. That was a wonderful thing that if you purchase a Lenovo computer today, and after that you want to discard that, so the company is responsible for recycling it. That was a wonderful initiative. And the MOEF had set a rule of that these companies, to start with, they have to recycle at least 30% what they are selling outside. 30% of that they have to recycle in the formal units. You know what happened? A very strong protest came from all these companies. Ultimately, we bow down and the rule modified to 10%. Good. Even 10% is okay. 10% is a huge volume of the e-waste. Now the 10% of that they have to recycle. And there are some positive stories also which are linked with Apple company. They have a robotic machines which can handle and dismantle the PCBs and computers, and ultimately they are taking care of the environment. Good. Other companies, HP, IBM, they also started. But the piling up of the e-waste is so huge, they cannot just focus on recycling. They have to see their benefit also. So rules and regulations are important. Collection is important. If I say that where you can drop your e-waste, you will not able to get any idea. So this is important. Collection points should be there. And I think there should be some benefit to the user. If you are giving your old cell phone, you should get in return something. And recycling and repair, I told you, that is the essence of any technology, that you go for recycling and repair. And the last part of my research is, it was year 2008 when we were starting these things, and then we thought that let us start our research in this area. And when we started our research, we visited ePressera company, and recently we also had our visit to Axigo company, which is in Panipat. We came to know that these formal sectors, when they try to take out copper, gold, nickel, zinc, beryllium, barium, you talk any other metal, and they pulverize it. They make it very small granules. So ultimately, during pulverization, a lot of dust is coming out, and they could not work with that dust because that is not economical, whether they use physical method or chemical method. So we recovered that dust because that was actually waste out of waste, and try to retrieve the metals out of that. So we started with this project, which was funded by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, and Dr. Jatendra Pradhan. At that time, he was a PhD scholar, sponsored PhD scholar of that project. He actually initiated this project because we saw there are many microbes in the environment which can take out metals for you in an environmental friendly manner. And then we saw even in that dust, there is 12% of copper, and even gold was there and iron was there. So we used these metals. We had a good deliberations, and ultimately we could take out 70% of the gold. When these metals make complexes with the gold, which is actually insoluble, they make the complex with gold and makes the gold, copper, silver, and other metals, zinc, iron, solubilized, and it comes to the solution, and then you can test it. So we were very thrilled to see the results that even with the microbes in the lab at smaller scale, we can take out metals which actually now discarded by the industries. So this was an initiation where we advocated the use of bioleaching for the retrieval of the electronic waste. So he is Dr. Pradhan. When he visited Mandoli area, this is a industrial area in Delhi, I know that he was facing a lot of resistance because the people were not allowing him to come into the units, because they said that previously media persons came and then they had a snapshot and they gave a coverage in the TV. That's what people are doing, but there is no solution they were finding. They were just projecting and highlighting the problem. But still you can see a lot of drums are there where they will use solvent to take out copper, and then ultimately they will throw on the back side, on the rear side, they will throw these electronic gadgets, printed circuit boards, and it's very near to the locality also. And you can see the land degradation there. This table is full of information, but roughly I would like to tell you that the most of the e-waste processing sites, which we say this is a dumping yard of e-waste, mainly in China and other countries, we could get arsenic, cadmium, and chromium, and even mercury more than these sites on this particular Mandoli area. And if you see this S1, S2, S3, S4, we try to have an area very near to the site, half a kilometer away, a kilometer away, but still we got all these metals, because I told you, you cannot isolate yourself from soil, water, and air ecosystem. So it was very surprising to us that if I talk about mercury was 7 times more than the permissible limit, and cadmium was 14 times more than the permissible limit. So what is this data showing us? This is actually information which we need to share with all the people who are concerned with these heavy metals, because they are everywhere now. And you are not going to test your water while you are drinking it. So that was a problem which we faced during e-waste recycling site survey. Then another PhD student, Dr. Anil Now, he now graduated and got PhD. He joined and we got a project from the Department of Biotechnology, and our partner was Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar. What we actually did in this phase 2 project, I was, along with my team, was focusing on metals. But you know, there is 30% of the part which is polybrominated diethyl ether, which is very, very carcinogenic. When the people burn this electronical cable, so this is actually released in the form of dioxins, and dioxins is a very potent carcinogen. So Dr. Harvinder was an expert in that. So what we did, jointly the project was funded, and ultimately he took care of the polybrominated diethyl ether degradation, so that something less harmful or harmless should be coming out. And we were focusing on our metal bioleaching, but this time we focused mainly on copper, gold, and silver, and these are few of our publications. So then my MTech student, now he's doing PhD in Europe, and we had an idea that why not cell phone now, because we were hearing that the SIM waste will be SIM is having a lot of copper and gold, even more than in the printed circuit board. And we were hearing that SIM is actually going to eliminate from the cell phone, and the SIM-less cell phone will be coming. So thinking that, what will happen with the SIM? The SIM will be a wastage. So it was easy to work with the SIM, because the copper and gold we can take out very easily. And we try to take out copper and gold from the SIM waste, but we faced a problem. You know, the metabolite which is coming to make a complex with gold, actually the copper was also a competitor for that. So most of the complex was actually with the copper. And ultimately what happens, gold was not taking out, and the copper was making a lot of the complexing with the lixiviant, which is released by the microbe. So we try to treat the copper first. So we try to take out the copper first. So you can say we try to have a sequential process. So we try to retrieve, first of all, using lixiviant, we retrieve the copper, and then we came to the gold, and we could increase this percentage of gold, and that we named as chemobiohydrometallurgy recovery of copper from sim waste, and then we got a good publication out of that. So our purpose in this was like, you have to, if you are focusing on copper, gold, please first of all remove the base metals. Otherwise, these smaller or the rare earth metals you will not able to get. So this is my present work. A PhD student Pooja Thakur is doing a PhD in this area, and I'm very thankful because most of the presentation actually she helped to make the slides. And now we are focusing on these things because earlier, if I tell you about the work of Dr. Pradhan or Dr. Anil, my previous scholars, and Aditya Sahni, who was MTech student, we were using aqua regia, which is a mixture of nitric acid and HCl, and also we are using nitric acid separately. So we thought even this is a secondary pollutant. So now we are focusing on some more sustainable solutions which are good and not harmful to the environment, and we are focusing on the ferric chloride. And our focus, our base, our fundamental theories on the redox potential of these things. So what is happening, these microorganisms, when the ferric ion is reduced to ferrous ion, the copper which is there in the elemental form, that will come to the ionic form. When it is there in the ionic form, you can get it dissolved in the medium, and then you can recover it. We are getting very good result out of that. And side by side, what we are doing, because this is our, you can say, a hobby, and also we love to do that bug hunting from these sleeping mines. So we say this is a sleeping mine. Let us please identify this. This is having an area of great opportunity, business and employability, and we could get a very good publication out of that, that if you take out metals out of these sleeping mines, so do bug hunting. And I'm very happy that we selected an area which is comparatively quite colder one, very near to Shimla, and the altitude is close to 2000 meters. And we got good bugs out of that, and we are now testing these bugs under a low temperature and different conditions of pH and nutrition, so that how these bugs can be important to take out metals out of this electronic waste. So ultimately, my conclusion of the talk is, please, if you have a phone designed for dump, should be stopped, and companies also should stop this design for dump. There should be a policy of upgradation of every phone. Why don't we use cloud computing for most of our things, so that storage things should be reduced and electronic waste is reduced? Storage in the cupboard, that is not good. We actually throw the cell phone in the dustbin. If you ask me where should I throw it, we don't have a system. We don't have a system to throw our expired medicines. We don't have a system to throw our worn out batteries. Laws are there, but we are still, user is confused what to do it. And local kabadi wala, I say, don't give unless or until they are not formalized. And informal recycling should be actually converting to the formal recycling. So, you know, no work is complete without the efforts of the people. So many people, many BTech, MSc, MTech students are involved in this research, small project, big project, but mainly this, which I have shown you in my slide, many things I could not show. This is mainly the work of Dr. Pradhan, Dr. Anil, and my present student Pooja Thakur, and MTech student Aditya Sahni. So this is in nutshell, I would like to share with you. I hope आपको मैंने बोर नहीं किया होगा और कुछ आपको इंटरेस्टिंग लगा होगा. And my sincere regards to you that you people joined, and sincere regards to my team of Center of Excellence of Informatics and Healthcare, those who are doing an excellent effort to connect many people around the globe, which is next speaker is from US, I think. And thank you for this, and thank you for participating.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for very informative and insightful talk. And I can see the comments of the participants, and they really enjoyed the talk, and the session was really wonderful. But we have several queries actually, so I would like to start one by one, so you can please answer them. The very first query we have from Reva Bharadwaj. She is asking, many developed countries dump their e-waste in developing countries like India. So is it a major problem for us? She's asking to you.
Yes, it is a major problem for us. So what I should suggest to MOEF and CC, which is a ministry, that anything which intact is coming to us, we should also take it as an e-waste. We say transboundary movement should be stopped. We should also take it as an e-waste. When they dump our, see, sometimes they dump medical devices which can be used in our hospitals. But on the pretext of that, we should not allow the computer which have a life of just 3 to 4 years. So this should be stopped, and ministry has to modify these words. What is the meaning of e-waste? So e-waste is not a dismantled thing. A computer not in use is also e-waste. So we should stop it.
Okay, sir. Now we have like 2-3 questions in queue from very inquisitive participant Utkarsa. She is asking first, like, what are the metals that we can actually extract from e-waste in subsequent quantities? And sir, are there any specific techniques to extract these precious metals from the e-waste?
Utkarsha, this is a very good question. See, the maximum is close to 12% is copper. So, and then followed by iron. And then if I talk about nickel, zinc, these are the base metals. And then you have palladium, platinum, gold, silver, which are rare earth metals also. Most of the industries, even in the formal sector, they use smelting techniques, pyrological methods, and hydrometallurgical methods. So basically, these are physical chemical techniques which they are using, and they extract close to 80% of that. And bioleaching is not effective at a large scale, that we should remember, but it can work on the rare earth metals, because the industry does not feel it is like economical to take out 0.08% of the gold, working, spending 10 rupees and getting 6 out of that. So yes, there is a lot of potential, and maximum base metals, copper, zinc, nickel, and then you can go for palladium. Technologies are pyrolysis, pyrological, hydrometallurgy, and smelting technologies which are available.
Okay, sir. Thank you. We have next question from Dr. Subhas Bosle. He's asking, like, we are concerned about electronic waste and its harmful effect on human health. What about the electronic gadgets which radiate harmful rays, which in turn affecting the population of insects like honeybees and small birds?
Actually, you asked a very good question, and I love to answer this. You know, in Europe, those they have actually, they got into that problem. So Europe, there is a law, a restriction of use of hazardous substances in the electronic gadgets, which we say ROSH. What they are doing, they said that there are a lot of electronic metals which are there used for fluorescence. Actually, they are harmful. So they try to replace it with the lesser harmful metals, and they are doing it very seriously over there. And they have replaced many harmful metals with the harmless metals. So yes, this is a very important part. But you know, we are still entangled in the first problem of dealing with the e-waste. Forget about this second one, replacing these metals with a harmless one. But I'm telling, we are very good in taking out of the metals. The only thing is, they don't have workforce. They don't have most of the informal sector, I know, and they are dumping it here. Why not give all these techniques to the formal sector? Yes, fluorescence, we need to replace the metals, and the Europe is doing this and doing from last 10, 12 years. And there, each state, if you talk about US, each state is having separate law on e-waste. Each state is having its separate law. So that is a sensitization that they have.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Here is, before taking further questions, there are few more. I would like to have 2 announcements. First, I already submitted that feedback form in the chat box. You can fill that to get the e-certificate. And the second important announcement is the next webinar of this series we are going to organize on 6th of November by Dr. Dipankar Sengupta. He is working in the Medical Bioinformatics Research Cluster in the Queen's University, Belfast, Northern Ireland. And he is our alumni also from 2003 to 2007 BTech Bioinformatics batch. So I hope this interesting topic of clinical bioinformatics, bridging the gateway to precision medicine, because nowadays we are talking about personalized medicine and precision medicine, and I'm sure this topic is of interest to each and everyone. So we are going to listen to him on 6th of November, and you can fill the feedback form also. and thank you very much for joining. I am attempting now few more queries that are already in the queue. So, sir, the next query is from Mr. Sanjeev Sayal, and he's asking about the e-waste per person. You talked about, I think, in your talk, in various countries. Is in how much time period?
This is actually like, for example, we are generating 2 million tons in India. So 2 million ton e-waste in India in 1 year, like 2019. So depending upon the total population and the total e-waste, we will calculate the per person e-waste generation. So that is on the year basis. Every year, if tomorrow we will have 4 million tons of e-waste coming out in 2021, so my figure will be 8 kg per person. So that is a yearly basis.
Okay. Sir, there is next question from Shraddha Mahendra. She is asking, can we process this waste by any means?
Yes, we are processing, like I told you, we have now formal industries close to 60 in India, and they are actually allowed to do with like people are having safety masks, gloves, and all other safety precautions are there, and then they dismantle it. So physical, chemical, incineration, which is controlled burning, and these formal sectors are using physical chemical methods, and the scientists, they are using biological methods, heap leaching. So there are many techniques to take out metals out of that.
Okay, sir. Thank you. We have one more query from Utkarsha. She is asking, sir, are there any specifically assigned sites to dump these e-waste in India or any other country?
Utkarsha, this is again a very good question. You know, there are some pockets where these workshops are there, and you know that due to political reasons and other factors in India, we generally don't disturb them. But if I talk about Himachal, if you go to Himachal, we have a industrial area in Baddi and Nalagarh, and you will get scrap dealers over there. So any city which is having industrial area, you will get e-processors over there, mainly informal. So industrial area of a city is having that type of arrangement.
Yeah, thank you, Utkarsha. She is always asking good questions and also many questions. We have one last question, sir, from Neha Thakur. She is asking, sir, as you told, like methodologies are already there for treating these wastes. Are these approaches sustainable and environment friendly?
See, when we do formal recycling, yes, the technology is sustainable, though it gives pollutant, but you know, you can recycle the acid, you can always treat the effluent, because we have a lot of industrial plants in India, not even for e-waste, for other things also. And if you have that type of arrangement that you treat the waste in a nice way, as e-Pressura is doing in Bangalore, yes, we can do it, and it can be done with safety, but you know, it is a lot of investment, and the company feel that why should I give 50% of my share on the recycling and working on that? Why should I just focus on the benefit, and e-waste I'll dump to the countries where livelihood is a problem? They will take out the metals and they will do the rest of the things. If you talk about the certain sites in China, even the water is not drinkable, and they take water 100 kilometers away from that area. So this is a problem. Yes, we have to make these unsustainable technologies towards sustainability.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Subbu, for the appraisal. We have, sir, one more question from Anchita Prasad. She is asking, what will be the purity percentage of that particular metals that is being used after e-waste?
See, when you work on natural mines, that is laced with 100 types of contaminants, and you invest a lot of energy and intensive methodology to take out the metal. If you talk about electronic waste, you will get gold plated pins, you will get copper, silver, and it is easier to work with the electronic waste than to work with mines, and the purity level is very high. But you know what is the problem? What is the size of the SIM? The weight of the SIM is less than half a gram. So if you want to take out gold out of that, how much SIM do you need? Collection, dismantling. So this is also energy intensive process, but purity is much more, and that you need to work out. We do not have a smelting refinery which is a quite good state of the art, and Ypres people, they were sending whatever is remaining to Belgium, Umicore. So I think we need to invest in this area, and then we can do the job.
Okay, sir, we have a few more questions that are coming because, we got one feminine question that Shalini Kiran is asking, can you use those metals for ornaments also?
Yes, E-Pressera is using that. Most of the like gold-plated chains or watches which you are getting, or other earrings you are getting, many of these are actually plated from the gold taken out of the e-waste. Yes, it is going on. And if you visit Bangalore, you can see the twin plants. And their site also had a photographs where some sort of like some, you can say, there's some ornamental things plated with the gold coming out of the e-waste. Yes, it is already going on.
Okay, sir, I have one query regarding the answer of this question. Like, is there any specific nomenclature that is being used? Like if these ornaments are being plated with the e-waste material or something like that, so people can get motivated for using those more.
I think this should be my future thing. I need to consider this. I think this is a good thing. If there is a labeling that this is coming out of e-waste, you purchase it, then you will give benefit to the recycler. I think this is a wonderful idea.
And
if
indirectly, indirectly to the environment, whole environment.
Yeah, this is a wonderful idea.
Yes, sir. There is one more query from Sumaya Rahman and asking, like, please highlight your views. What are the practical hurdles on application of these processes in dump yards, which has tons of waste? Because he's asking about your personal experience.
My personal experience is things are going on, and even the workers, those who are working in that environment, they are the most prone to these diseases. But roti kapda makan is the main thing. So they don't bother about these toxic components, and they try to retrieve metals. And due to our inefficient law and political reason, we never dismantle them, and we never invest money to make them capable enough to safeguard their health. So my experience with these informal sector is that they are risking their life, risking the life of society. But yes, formal sector is coming up very soon in India, and I hope within next 5 to 10 years, if formal sector people, they join hands with informal sector people and do not target them as a culprit, then there is a good future, because हमारे पास तो workforce की कोई कमी नहीं है. So we need to see them as a workforce. Don't see them as a culprits. So my experience till now is not good for dumping, but future is there. Let us see.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much. I think this was a wonderful session. Everybody enjoyed it. And I was just checking the attendance, and I'm happy to share that total 193 participants joined for this during last 1 hour. So which is a very good number. So thank you each and everyone for being with us. And I'm sure you enjoyed, you learned some good knowledge out of it. First, I would like to thank Professor Syal for the wonderful and energetic talk on very important and sensitive topic. And then I would like to congratulate my team also, which includes my better half, Dr. Ragini from Physics and Material Science Department. She is also part of this core team of CEHTI. Then we have Dr. Nishant Jain from Electronics and Communication Engineering Department. He is helping us in all the technical modalities that are working in the background. So thank you, Nishant. Thank you, Ragini, for being part of this team. Thank you, HOD sir. And that definitely the administrative support is always there, because the first webinar that was inaugurated by Honorable Vice Chancellor sir, that made a solid impact on this particular series. And I hope we are going to continue this for a longer period of time. As I told you, next webinar is coming on very important topic, clinical bioinformatics, bridging the gateway to precision medicine, by Dr. Dipankar Sengupta from Queen's University, Northern Ireland. I am sure you also are going to enjoy that. We will share the links with you. You can register for that. You can participate and enjoy. Thank you one and all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.